Hey everyone, welcome back to Work Right with Rich, the show where we get into the honest, unfiltered side of what it really takes to make work, well, work. I'm Richard Farmer, your host and Asia Managing Director at CXC. So I hope you're all settling back into after the break and getting back into work mode. The first stretch back in the year always takes a bit, doesn't it? Takes a lot to get used to. But today's episode is the second part of my conversation with the wellness and energy coach, Elika. Last time we talked about burnout and some tips to avoid running into the ground. If you haven't listened to that one yet, it's worth going back and checking it out. It's great. This time we're looking ahead a bit. We talk about how to start the year strong without piling on more pressure, how to get through the workday, and what helps when everything starts speeding up again. If you're thinking about how to improve or just want this year to feel a bit better than the last, this one's for you. Okay, all right, let's get into it. A lot of the times they're telling leaders now to meditate, it's something that everyone should be doing. But, a lot of us, leaving me, not have the attention span for long meditation. Thoughts on the whole meditation piece for the...
Well, listen, I must say that meditation for me has been the single most biggest impact on my health and well-being. I've had a daily practice for about 8 years. And the reason why is it gave me the sacred pause. It gave me this moment where I realized, because of the habit, I didn't realize this at first, but I started to notice that I get a moment that's like a second before reacting. That for me was super important because I have a very active nervous system that loves to be in fight or flight and loves to get triggered very easily. And what that gave me was that pause before responding. It came without me thinking it. It was like the practice just meant that, and then I respond. Now, if I said to you, I'm going to wave a magic wand and I'm going to give you a second of thinking time before anybody else, but they're not going to notice it, you would take it. And so that meditation is. Now, let's be real, because I'm not somebody that tells you just what the science says and the facts and the figures and then watches you struggle to implement it because it's not realistic with your life, right? So what I found is breath work has been better for my clients to implement. So I just told you now, the 478 is the work of Dr. Andrew Weil, who heals a lot of his patients that have got inflammation and autoimmune illnesses through doing that. And I'm just using it for my clients to have pause when they can't take holidays and to get instant energy when they can't get coffee. I found that breath work, it's like the preliminary stage for it. I'm going to be honest, most of my clients that I work with are high achievers, super ambitious, and most of them have some form of diagnosis of some mental ailment, call it ADHD, ADD, autism, whatever it is. This is what I think is their superpower, so I friggin' love it. It makes them genius. It makes them superpowers once they're tuned into it. And so I find that meditation is not a great starting place for them, and it wasn't for me. It took me about 3 years to think, okay, I can really do this. And I gave up so many times in between. So why put people there? Now, if you could start with the 478, then at least you're calming your nervous system. So your nervous system is calmer before responding. That's ultimately the goal of meditation, is to be able to focus on one thing at a time. It's not to focus on nothing. That's why most people struggle, because they sit in meditation trying to think about nothing. The brain is designed to think. What it does is it trains the brain to think about one thing instead of 10 things at once. Now, breath work creates that sacred pause, so it gives you some of that, majority of that feeling that can then end up turning into a meditation practice.
Nice. I like it. Make it nice and easy. Because, I think a lot of misnomer is you are supposed to be able to sit there listening and your own thoughts for like 20, 30 minutes. And it's just too old for people. I think people's attention span is much shorter and shorter, right? Lab in terms of social media and everything, and their need for it to be now is also there, and that feeling is there.
Also, just remember that, I said that most people do the right method the wrong way. So when somebody comes to me and we can mention human design, but I look at their human design chart, which for me shows me the energy blueprint of how their body's designed to give an energy. That's how I'm able to personalize a lot more with my clients, because I do human sign readings and I studied that for 9 years. But when someone comes to me and they're like, actually, I want to do meditation, I want to get into meditation, I want to do it, and they're committed to it, I always remind them of that phrase. And then it was like, basically, if you have an hour to meditate, you need 5 minutes. And if you only have 5 minutes to meditate, you need an hour. But the starting place for me is, is always 5 minutes. With meditation, 5 minutes. Master 5 minutes. Mastery to me, days, I had no problem integrating it into my life for 30 days. Once someone says to me that they're at mastery, then we can move on to more. But if you can't meditate for 5 minutes every day, there is no way that I think you should be trying to meditate for 10, 20 minutes. It doesn't make sense. It's going to sabotage you from ever really getting a practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, start small, keep to the basics and do something that's manageable for your diary. And you just mentioned something there about what was it? The human design.
Human design. Yeah. I was thought about. Yeah, for sure. So human design is a blend of science and ancient wisdom that is a roadmap to your most authentic self. You know, when I started the health concierge all those years back now, it was part of, like, when I started my coaching practice, I had the 4 pillars and I was predominantly working with nutrition and movement. And I was like, hang on a minute, what changed everything for me was doing the inner work. So I brought inner work practices to my client and focused on purpose and relationships and their mind and their sleep. But then I got to COVID. And as I was working deeper and deeper with people in COVID, because people were more ready to do more inner work, I realized that was the missing piece that I wasn't using in my coaching practice that really helped me. And what human design does is it takes all of the ancient wisdom, so including the Hindu chakra system, which is the 7 energy centers, the Chinese I Ching, which is the meridian lines that acupuncturists use to decide where to put a needle. It uses the Jewish Kabbalah, which is a way of life, plus the pseudoscience, which I like to say is science that's not been funded, which is astrology and numerology. And then it takes our modern science, which our most modern science, the most proven science that we have today, is a strand of physics called quantum physics. So it takes that and biology. And because all of that is too much for the average human, we take some data from you. So you give me your data, and the data includes your birth time and date of birth. I put that into my AI software. It brings up a visual body graph of how your body was designed energetically, which means to give and receive energy. My job as an interpreter of that, and what I've been studying for 9 years, is to interpret what your superpowers are, what your gifts are, what you're here to do in the world. So essentially, if you can imagine that when you were born, nobody gave you, like, this is the book of how to run Richard so that he's really successful in all areas of his life. But this is the closest to that, because it gives you clarity on who you are, what you're here to do, and how you're here to do it. And if you have that, I promise you, you will be so much more efficient with how you use your energy.
I like it. And that was a great synopsis in a very short amount of time. You just covered nearly every science, every religion, every kind of chakra. Very good. So kind of conscious of time, I know you're super busy. If you're looking at kind of, people are looking into next year, they want to make a change. We talked about how to start. We talked about breathing, meditation, diet. But I suppose, what would be your advice of how to start planning for next year? Because you can't wait to January the 1st and think something's going to change, right?
Yeah.
You know, where do people start that adoption? And also probably on top of that, you've got a few weeks less at the end of the year. I suppose just to turn out, like, if you are feeling burned out, what would be the ways to kind of reset your body before you go on your kind of wellness journey?
Yeah. So I told you that purpose and relationships is where I see the most of them at work. The second is mind and sleep hygiene. The starting place for everyone is their belief systems. I give you an example. The belief system that new year, new start, the new year is not January. Who says the new year is January? The Gregorian calendar says the new year is January. So if you have formed that belief system, it's just your belief. The Chinese don't have that. They're like, I use the lunar new year, right? The Vedic calendar uses something different. So you're already having a belief that might be expanding you, but for most people it's limiting them, because they're like, oh, I'll do that in the new year, right? So that firstly doesn't work for most people. Your personalized new year is actually the day that you were born. That's when energetically you will have much more alignment to the things that you are. So the starting place is always, what are your beliefs? So I would go, again, back to my energy audit. What are the beliefs that I hold in the 3 big areas of my life? Or you can use, my framework is on my website, elika.co. But so you can use the energy reset recipe, or you can just use these simple: relationships, work, and health. What are my limited beliefs? Or even what are the beliefs that I hold in each of these areas? So what are my beliefs around my health? Oh, you know, I'm Caribbean, so we all have to have big hips, you know, right? Name the belief. What is the belief that I hold about relationships? I'm an introvert, so I find it difficult to form new relationships, for example. That could be a limited belief that you have. What are my beliefs around my work? I can only be successful if, name the thing, I work so many hours or whatever the limiting belief is. So by working with the mind first, that is our control system, because 90% or more of our beliefs come from our actions, come from our subconscious. So you can say that you want something, but if your subconscious is not wired to what your values are, then you're not going to act out something different. So you want to know what's under the hood. You want to know what's the engine that is controlling everything. What software is installed that needs an upgrade. And most people that work with me, they've got to a point in their life where they've had huge amounts of success in one area, but they realize that they've got glitches in their software that need an upgrade, and they want someone like me to upgrade it. And when I work with companies on wellness programs, what I find now is an accumulation of just softwares that need upgrading, and they've been working on the wrong software. And so, of course, therefore, productivity, cohesion, retention of staff is an issue because they've been working on the wrong software. So we go back to the number one starting place is, what are the beliefs that you hold in all the 3 areas of your life?
Yeah, I love that. I think start with like actually understanding the why rather than get straight to the how. A lot of people go, I want to get fit. I'll go and join, a gym, start us on this journey. And it will help, but still fundamentally the person you are is still there. So you got those limiting beliefs, you'll fall back into it.
Yeah.
Start drinking beer again. You could do the vegan diet. And he said, first, I will not ever be doing the vegan diet. It'd be a bit crazy. Probably last question, and I suppose this is more of a kind of advice. As leaders, you often, I see high performing people, they often are quite fit, they're out there pushing themselves and doing stuff, but does that translate to their team? So how do you think a leader sets an example or make sure wellness is important for their business? So how do they, instill, exercise and stuff for people? Because a healthy team in all ways is going to be a more productive team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what most people do, and I alluded to this before, is they work on the physical body. So when you say, a lot of our guys, they can be healthy, they could be out there doing that. Actually, they're working on the physical body. Now, because I focus on energy as the belief system that I have that really allows people to tap into the highest expression and version of themselves, I work with the body on energy. I look at everything through the lens of energy. So there are 4 layers to the energy body. The first is the physical body. So the physical body is what people see. Diet and exercise is addressing that. So leaders have to optimize in that area. And so obviously you optimize in those areas by firstly eating a human diet, which is whole foods, minimally processed, not man-made, right? So we optimize the physical body by also having a workout routine that's optimized for metabolic fitness. So that means that I'm going to prioritize building muscle as opposed to being a cardio bunny, because that's the belief system of the 80s that I kept on following, right? So upgrade of beliefs. So this is the physical body. Then we have the second layer of the energy body, which is your emotions. So I can't feel when you're frustrated, but you can feel it. You can feel when something creates anger in you, but I can't feel that. So that's for you to work on that, the emotions, which is just energy in motion, energy that's moving through your body that is actually a sign of something that's needed. Right? So it's for you as a leader to work with your emotions to be able to firstly identify them and see where they are supporting or signaling certain changes in your life. So there's a lot of work there on the emotional body. The third layer is your mental body. So your mental body is your mind. So I can't feel you ruminating over what I'm saying to you or you digesting this information and creating like habits or action plans for yourself through it. But you can feel when your mind is firstly overwhelmed and someone's trying to give you more and you're like, I can't take on any more. You feel that. So you need to access the mind, which has an accumulation of software, as we talked about with the beliefs. And you need to know what is its capacity, because most of us, because of the amount of content coming at us, are overwhelmed because the brain was never designed to take as much information as it is. And most of us have lots of glitches in our software that we have not done the work to get it rewired because we're too busy working on the physical body. And then the last layer of the body is the one that nobody really talks about apart from in ancient wisdom. So my wellness consultancy business is all about bridging ancient wisdom to modern wellness. So I always like to look at both. But this is what the indigenous and the ancient wisdom talk about the most, which is in quantum physics, we call it information field. There's a field of energy that surrounds all humans. Animals, some animals can see it, then definitely sense it, but the human eye can't see it. So you know how humans are, if they can't see it, they don't believe it. But in quantum physics, we've studied this field of energy that all humans have. And in spiritual community, they used to refer to this as the aura, right? Even if you see pictures of God, you'll see, or Jesus, you'll see pictures of the halo effect around him, which is the aura. And so what we're realizing now, and what I say to my clients is, listen, when I say I'm going to optimize your energy, and when I say if you're not in the top 10 you're going to be, is because I'm going to work on all physical, mental, emotional, and your auric field. So what this means is, if your auric field is strong, you are literally a magnet for all the things that you want. People want to talk to you, want to do business with you. Like, things just come your way with ease and flow. You ask for something, people are like, oh, because it's you. Yeah. You walk into a room, you're that person. They're like, who is that? I need to talk. They sense it. When I walk into a room, people sense my energy is different before I've spoken. That's my auric field. And how have I worked that? I've worked it because I've worked so much on the physical, the mental, the emotional, that the side effect of that is you have a stronger information field. And the information field is the field of energy that you're exchanging with others. So if you want to impact your team, we know from studying humans and babies that your child does not learn from what you've told them. They learn from what they mirror in what you do. So if you want your child to follow you, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And why? Because it's your auric field. It's the energies, the things that people see and feel around your presence, your reaction to things. This is all your auric field. Leaders today are not doing enough work on this because they're not doing the true inner work that wires them, that makes their auric field and them a magnet and a role model for their teams. They're too busy working on the physical body, just thinking, oh, well, if I look good, but we've all met Brad, sorry, I gotta say a name, but we've all met Brad who physically looks strong, but we're like, not sure if it's all there, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, I applaud Brad. You, Brad's out there in the world. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good point. I think it is. I would say after a rest and a break, often you have that aura. But after the way the market is, the economy, everyone's aura's probably taken a bit of a beating. To be honest, it's not been an easy time. So how do they get that aura reset? And I think what I'm hearing is like, start with some breath work and start with kind of just thinking about yourself, not just thinking about the physical being, but what you're putting in your body, but also what drives your body is actually your brain and your energy.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? How do we get that? That's great. Okay. And I suppose if there's if you're going to recommend a book for Christmas and for someone to read, what would it be?
I suppose it'd have to be Atomic Habits. Actually, I feel like, because men and women are so different, I feel like I would recommend differently for men and women. Okay. Because we're in a season right now where I truly believe that men and women coming together in more harmony at the moment is what's going to change humanity. I really feel like we've got this imbalance of the feminine and masculine that's playing out in our workplace and so in our families and all these things. And so I actually would like to approach them differently. So for men, I would get Atomic Habits because you're more linear, you're more automated, and you can, work a little bit like a machine. You're just driven by that one hormone, testosterone, where we have several. And women, I would say the book for them would be Women Who Run with Wolves. And it's a book of lots of little stories of women through every season of a life that a woman will experience. And it's such beautiful stories. And I just feel that women need to rekindle what it's like to be a woman and all of that love and support that we can give to men and how we can really guide them so that they can go out and hunt for us again in a way that they can.
I like that. I think it is going back to basics. I think it is. The advent of AI, everything's being done and stuff. But if you look back where people were truly happy, a lot of the time where it's a simple life. You kind of exist. You focus on the things that are in your power. I love reading those stories of which is not fantastic when old people are either passing away and so forth. But what do they say on their deathbed and all those kind of ideas, right? Yeah. One thing is that anyone that's ever sick, all they want to be is well. So I think focusing on your wellness, focusing well-being, everything else, the book It
changes every.
performance, happiness, and all those things. Elika, it's been absolutely fantastic to chat. I told you for hours. And we so these yeah. I'm taking some things away. First is I'm going to leave my office and build a cave. So I'll be in I'll have to tell my team I'll be in my cave from 5:30 to 6. But rejuvenate like Superman. Yeah, well, I'm waiting for summer. I'll come out in spring. I'll be ready for summer. So I'll let my wife know that. So that'll be good. But I always like to ask. So how do people contact you? Because I think now is the time for people that really, well, any time of the year is a good time to start. Don't wait. Like, how do they reach out to Elika? How do they get to follow you and find out more about what you're doing? Because I think it's exceptionally important, but also very interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm on every single platform. So LinkedIn, Instagram. I created a YouTube channel of longer videos. But the best place is probably my website, which will point you to all of those, elika.co. And for companies, for wellness programs, we have the corporate page there, so they can look at. We deal with a lot of hospitality brands now, F&B luxury brands here in Dubai, and obviously I'm covering from Dubai. I'm covering Singapore, and I'm covering Europe with a lot of clients. And yeah, for individuals, they will see the human design readings that are available on the website at elika.co, and you'll also see the details of the application for the health concierge is available on elika.co. So yeah, so I'd go to elika.co.
So fantastic. They go to your website. You can work globally. There you can see Elika, meet her in verse if you're in Dubai, whatever go through. But as I said, an absolute pleasure. I think it's been one of the highlight podcasts so far at Work Like Rich. It's been really about some great insights and give you back. And yeah, can't wait to catch up again soon. I won't be having a beer.
You won't be having beer. I'll be like, is it Kaya? Do you want to try some sake?
I'll be giving you a mead. Flag it. Over a non-vegan diet, and
yes, we'll be eating steak, babe. I'm a steak girl.
Well, as long as it's after 6:30, where my aura's fullest, and before I get more romantic. So, but yeah, it's good. But thank you so much.